least 7 or 8 churches in the area are getting high schoolers and junior hires together next Sunday night. And then that next Wednesday at 7 a.m., we're going to meet at the high school, at the pole, at Bluff High School. We're going to pray for the school, pray for the students. So once again, that'll be the 7 or 8 churches that we're talking about. So if you want to meet at the high school and pray, it's that following Wednesday. And I have flyers you can see there. I grew up in a Christian home. I went to church every Sunday. I went to youth group. I prayed the prayer of salvation when I was 7 years old. And I didn't get it. It's like I had earmuffs on. And every time they would talk about God, I didn't hear them. I went to all the youth groups. I went to the camps. I went to everything you can imagine. I didn't hear a word they were saying, and I looked at them like they were strangers because I didn't understand what they were talking about. My parents would pray at meals if we went out to the restaurant. And I was just so ashamed. I feel like everybody's looking at us, why are we doing this? I didn't get it. And as soon as I went to college, I couldn't wait to get away from what I considered strict parents, get away from church, get away from anything to do with God, and I went and I lived in the world. That heavy drinking in college continued through my adult years, and my life continued to spin out of control. It wasn't until our second child, Jacob, was born that things really sort of peaked. He was really sick as a baby, and so it was many, many sleepless nights. I don't think it's like the night until he was almost 3. And so there was many 4 a.m. fights with my wife. There was a lot of tension in the house. Even our dogs would fight. I mean, there was just a lot of tension. I figured that I could improve our life by getting more money. Money was the answer, and that's what I was searching for, and that's what could improve our life. And so I was involved in the stock market, and I got involved in options. And options are extremely high risk, and so I lost all of them. But I had enough success that I was able to convince my wife that we needed to take out a home equity loan, and a big home equity loan, and that I could indeed improve our lives. Well, I managed to use it all again. It was during that time that Jake was sick that I would take care of Abby when I was home. I would take care of my daughter. And my daughter and I, she was Daddy's girl. We had a special relationship because I spent a long time with her. Mama was with Jake. And Abby, she would twirl her hair a lot. So she would twirl, and then it got to where she was pulling. And it got to where we had to keep her hair really short, and then she would get bald spots on her head. And this is my girl. I mean, at that time, that was the only thing that was good in my life was my daughter. And I remember a time when she was a 3-year-old, she was just screaming at me. Top of the lungs, and she was looking me in the eye, and she was just looking at me like she hated me, and she was screaming at me, and she was pulling out her hair, and I could see in her hand chunks of hair, and I was just devastated, because this was my girl, and I couldn't fix it. There was just so much tension in the house, and I just feel like she felt it, and she would just tear out her hair, and I couldn't do anything about it. Around that time, we started taking our kids to church. We went to a local church, and I can't tell you to this day other than God while we went to church. But we thought it was for the kids, to take the kids to church and then to go to balls. But God had His eye on us. I was greatly in debt. I was headed for a divorce. I was losing my family. My career was going downhill at work because I was so angry. I knew I couldn't save myself. One night, in the spare bedroom, that's where I slept. I was laying on the floor, and I just gave up. I said, said, I can't do this anymore. And I just gave control to Jesus, and I just said, you got to fix this, because I can't. I never felt despair like that. Sure that I will never again. So my wife and I were baptized together on Easter morning at sunrise on the beach at the Atlantic Ocean, which was on the other side of the world. And it sounds like it was a beautiful thing. But if we were there, my wife and I weren't speaking to each other. She didn't know I was getting baptized. We had two grumpy kids at sunrise in their pajamas in the sand. It was a beautiful thing. Looking back, this was a turning point in our lives. God had us sell our house, sold our house, paid off all our debts. Over time, the Lord led me to stop smoking, to stop drinking, to stop gambling. Changed our lives. Divorce was no longer an option. We began the painful process of reconciliation, of learning to love each other. God saved us. God saved our marriage. He saved not only me, but He saved my family. He saved my kids. I don't know where we wouldn't be in a good place. We joined another church in Florida, and the pastor of that church, he would talk about God's will as a river. With a lot of people standing on the shore watching. And I would wade into that river, and I waded into that river, but I always kept my foot on the shore. I always had my foot on that shore. And one day, through prayer, the Lord really convicted me that I needed to push off the shore and see where He was going to take me. It wasn't too long after that my wife and I decided that we would need to leave South Florida. And so we got rid of just about all of our worldly possessions, put some of it in storage, and we moved into an RV, and we were going to drive around the country. And so we did that for a year. We drove around. We always said that God would tell us when it's time to stop. 1 Peter 1:6 really describes our journey. It says, "In all of this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, greater worth than gold, perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor in Jesus Christ as we believe." See, our RV trip was like a river. There was days when we were in a nice pool, calm pool, and peaceful, and you're in Yellowstone Park, and just God is everywhere. There were many, many more days when we were going through trials. We did not know what we were doing. We didn't know how to do it, and we had to trust God every day. And it wasn't until that RV trip that I could say that I knew I had faith, because I had to prove that I had faith. And our faith grew through that trip, through actually having to trust God every day. And driving that 40-foot Duane car, I had to trust God every day. And I'm not going to get into all the stories today. There's a lot of them. We always said that God would tell us when to stop. And my son was the first to recognize it. He said it right. He said, one day the pastor came out and visited us in the RV. We were only supposed to stay in Red Bluff for 1 week. We had been up in Oregon and Seattle on the coast. It was raining for months. And we came over those mountains. We came down into Red Bluff. It was dry and sunny. And we said, "Oh, we're staying." Now we were only planning to stay for a week. We went into 2 weeks, and we said, "Well, we might pay a monthly fee and stay over Christmas." And then the pastor came out and visited us in the RV, and the pastor left. My son said, "You know, Dad, this must be where God wants us to stay," because the pastor came out to see us. He was right. We didn't know it then, but he was right. Well, the RV trip was just a warm-up for us when it comes to faith. See, I worked at Motorola, and I worked from home, so as long as we had internet, I could work anywhere in the country, so I was able to work for our whole trip. Once we got here, we bought a house. That's when I lost my job. say the war, that our church is a war one. Because now we really have to trust God. And we can trust God every single day to provide for us. We know that God wants us here. We know that. More than that, we know that God wants us here at North Valley Baptist Church. We all feel this where He wants us. We were brought here to serve this church. And we're honored to be here.